seen over the last 11 days, those protests are certainly not confined to Milwaukee city limits. Thousands of people taking their message right through the streets in places like Waukesha, Racine, Kenosha, Brookfield, and West Dallas, Greendale, and Bayview.
Even extending outside Wisconsin, millions have spent the last 2 weeks marching the streets, day in and day out, in an effort to have their message heard from the East Coast to the West Coast, and even over international waters, a worldwide call for change.
And back here in Milwaukee, Mayor Tom Barrett recently launched a new commission on police accountability. That group will review MPD's use of force policies, and as Fox 6's Jason Calvi explains, within 90 days now, the group will make recommendations for change.
Another step.
Change needs to be made
In what's become a global movement.
It has spilled over into our suburban areas. That has not always happened in the past at all, and it's happening across the country.
Milwaukee Mayor Tom Barrett joins this one, walking from St. Joe's Hospital 9 blocks to Sherman Park.
This is an incredibly historic time.
So now he launches a probe into Milwaukee police, which includes hearing from African Americans.
Going forward, what do we need to change?
He can start right here.
They're frustrated. They don't believe that the system will represent them or that will hear them. And we want to change things.
Black Lives Matter!
And the African American Roundtable and 65 others signed on to a list of demands. It includes stripping $75 million from Milwaukee's police department and transferring it to housing cooperatives and public health.
I would have to see where we would get the money from.
Alderwoman Malele Coggs wouldn't sign on to a particular dollar amount, but she says
the more we invest in activities and initiatives that are preventative, the less we need to invest or feel like we need to invest in policing.
Don't shoot!
As the voices for change ring out.
Convict the police!
In Milwaukee, Jason Calvi, Fox 6 News.
Say his name! George Floyd!
The protests prompting Governor Tony Ebers to activate the National Guard to protect the city, a move the governor strongly defends. He says it is time for change and proposed a new law that would require police only use deadly force as a last resort.
It is important to make sure that things are done lawfully. First Amendment rights are not to be trampled in this state or any other state. And for those who decide to do damage, they're damaging the First Amendment. We must use this dark moment to begin to be an example for the rest of the nation. We must fix what we know is broken in our society. We must intentionally address and dismantle individual and systemic racism, discrimination, and bias.
For the most part, protests around the city have been peaceful, but there have been fires set, businesses broken into and looted, especially in those first few nights of unrest. Milwaukee Police Chief Alfonso Morales describing the dangers facing law enforcement.
I'm angry because we are not being believed that a police officer was shot. People are trying to kill police officers. We have officers that are being followed home. The Madison sheriff had his house surrounded. Why are our families now being targeted?
Police say objects including bricks, water bottles, and a Molotov cocktail have been thrown at them. The chief says one officer was shot. Mayor Barrett again calling for that review of the department's use of force. Chief Morales says force used with demonstrators has been legal and within protocol.
And there is anger on both sides. The video showing the death of George Floyd has been shown on news outlets around the world, on the social media feeds of millions. And for many, it was the spark that lit the fuse for thousands of protesters who keep marching every day. Members of the Milwaukee Police Department saw that video too and shared their emotions watching what happened.
I couldn't watch any more than 3 or 4 seconds. It was extremely difficult.
When I seen the video of Mr. George Floyd being murdered by that coward who hid behind a badge, it pissed me off. It made me extremely angry.
I am outraged by the video of what I've witnessed and what you all have seen.
Chief Morales says officers are sworn to protect the community, and he asks everyone to unite to make Milwaukee a safer place.
It is a difficult time for adults to understand, let alone trying to explain it to our children in some comprehensible way. But we know that they're the next generation, and it is important to look forward. Some parents in Milwaukee say it's important to teach kids one key principle: justice. That was the idea behind a recent protest downtown. Kids of all ages were welcome to attend and show their pride for Black Lives Matter.
To knowledge that this is justice for George Floyd and other people who had died from the past years, and to knowledge that this is justice.
It is a discussion white families often don't feel the need to have, but Black families, well, they know all too well. What is it? It's having the talk.
I mean, the talk, look, it's not the birds and the bees talk. It's what do you do when you have an encounter with an officer and you don't want that encounter to go wrong.
A local family opens up about the tough conversations they are having with their sons about interacting with law enforcement.
It's going to take more people to speak about what they see, how they feel, because we have seen this over and over. This time, I believe it is definitely different, that more people are aware, more people care, more people voice are willing to be heard. People are coming out of their comfort zone, and we need more people to do that.